In our last video about dating over 50, I mentioned 9 screening questions that I use to sift through the masses and find the love of my life. If you're interested in hearing these, they actually could work at any age. So stick around to the end, hear these 9 screening questions, plus 3 bonus questions to help you use them well. We're going to start with 3 questions about compatibility. Number 1, what brings you the most joy? I think this is really important to understand about the person that you're thinking about dating, because if what they love is really foreign to you or distasteful to you, maybe it's not a good match. Number 2, what are your hopes and dreams? If someone you're dating for the first time says they have no hopes and dreams, I would call that a red flag and get stepping. What are your core values? Again, if someone doesn't know what a value is or doesn't know what their values are, then unless you're, I don't know, 16, that's also a red flag. 3 questions about how you feel and act in relationships. So if you're dating someone, you're probably hoping that eventually you'll have a relationship with this person, right? So it's really important you ask these 3 questions about how somebody feels and acts in relationships, starting with their family. Tell me about your family of origin. Of course, you don't have to do all these at once, right? And probably, unless you're in a really quiet, contemplative space on your date, you're not gonna want to do all of these at once. But it's all about finding out where they come from, what their family was like, who their parents are, who their siblings are, and what their current and past relationships are with them. My mom used to say, when you marry someone, you marry their entire family. And when I was young, I didn't really believe that. I thought, no, I'm marrying an individual, they're marrying an individual. But even if someone has no relationship with their family, they still have a relationship in their hearts with their family. And if they get intimately involved with you, they're going to be most likely to reenact relationships they had with members of their family with you. So it's important that you understand what those relationships were and where they're at with them. Maybe when they were younger, they really couldn't stand them, their parents or their siblings. But over time, they've come to understand them and they have a better relationship with them. That's also important information, too. That tells you that they're able to forgive. That tells you that they're able to have insight about past relationships and make changes in them. These are all good questions. Number 2 in the relationship category is, how many close friends do you have? Who are they? How often do you see each other? Just general questions about their friends. This is a tricky one because some people don't have a lot of friends, right? And then you have to decide whether you're okay being with somebody who has very few friends in their lives. For me, that's a big no, because what ends up happening is they're just entirely dependent on me for all their social and emotional needs. And that's a lot. What is great about you? This is about the person's relationship with themselves. So some people might say, what are your strengths? Um, I find using the word strengths turns a lot of people off because people get asked that a lot at job interviews. And um, I know a lot of therapists ask that question. So I just ask, what is great about you? And if somebody can't identify a few things they think are great about them, then to me that's a big red flag, because they just don't have enough um, self esteem, self love, the stuff that's going to keep their relationship with themselves stable so that they can have a relationship that's stable with other people. 3 questions about how you navigate the hard times. Number 1, how do you cope in a crisis? Now, we all have different ways. I tend to go to the refrigerator, open it up, and eat all the contents, right? I also have some healthier strategies like praying and meditating and spending time with friends, um, taking walks. I think that it's important to find out what people do when times are hard. Because if you're going to enter into a serious relationship with this person, you will walk through hard times together, and you need to know how they deal with those. What do you do when you get scared or angry? This is my screening question about violence or anger issues. I like to know right up front what I'm dealing with, and you would be surprised how honest people are about this question. When I first came up with it, I thought, oh, people are going to lie. And it's true with any of these people could lie, right? But astoundingly, people are pretty honest about what they do when they get scared or angry. How do you care for your well being? This is a self care question, and it's in this section about how you navigate the hard times, because how we care for ourselves on a day to day basis is a good indicator of how resilient we'll be when times are tough, I think. 3 bonus questions. How did I develop these questions? Well, I kissed a lot of frogs. I did. I went out with a lot of people over the course of my dating career, and I just realized little by little what were the important questions for me to ask to get the information I needed to decide whether somebody was a good match or not. Your mileage may vary. You might want to add some questions um, that are important to you, but for me, this is a very comprehensive list that helped me to assess whether somebody was a good match or not. How can you work them into conversation? I think it's pretty easy because, you know, I do a lot of coaching. I used to be a therapist. But I think if you just focus on one category per date, you can get a lot of information just casually. For instance, in the how do you navigate the hard times, you can wait for them to come up with a time that was hard for them. If you go on at least a couple dates, there will be a story that comes up about something that was less than pleasant in their lives, and you can start to ask, how did you cope with that? Next, how do you know people aren't going to BS or lie and doesn't matter? You can't know, of course, if somebody's going to lie. And it almost doesn't matter because if they lie, it's going to come out over time if they're lying. But I've found that people tend to be pretty honest, or at least as honest as they can be. Remember, sometimes we're not even that honest with ourselves about how we take care of ourselves, about how we cope with things in a crisis, about our relationships with ourselves and others. So we can only expect people to be as honest as they've been with themselves about these things. All right, hopeful tribe. We hope you feel loved and hopeful until we see you again. Bye.